So hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and today I'll be doing a review of Family or Fiance, and this episode is season 2 episode 1 with Shay and Will, and it's entitled Drama with the In-Law. And if you guys don't know what Family or Fiance is, it's a show where I would say girlfriend and boyfriend, but at this point they're engaged and about to be married, and the family has some issues, whether it's the female side or whether it's the male side, and they have a relationship expert speak to them on how they can resolve issues. And we see where the guy would work on his relationship with the female's family, and the female work on issues with the guy's family, and sometimes they have their own issues within their own family that they need to work on, and the relationship expert is there to guide them on that. And they will be staying in a house for 3 days with everyone and working on these issues, and in the end they will ask their own family if they will get their blessing at the end. And sometimes the family say yes, everybody agrees, sometimes some says yes, some says no, and sometimes even the couples themselves decide at the end that they would rather put off the relationship and put off the engagement, or go their separate ways, or work on the relationship a bit more before getting married. So as I stated, today the relationship that we will be looking at is Shay and William. So to start off, Shay says that the toughest thing that they have had to deal with is William's family, and that they were not very accepting of her. And she says that they were extremely judgmental of her. And then she said if his parents don't open up and get to know her, then they will not be at the wedding. So the counselor Tracy asked them what was the first moment she realized that she really liked this guy. So apparently they met at work, and Will noticed her and she noticed him, and they struck up a conversation because he was her manager, and she said it was strictly business from there. And he started flirting with her, and that's how they began socializing and began dating. They are 12 years apart. They didn't say exactly their age, but they said that they are 12 years apart, and they said that has never been an issue. So apparently Will was married at the time that he was talking or dating Shay and not tell her. So apparently he was about to get a divorce, or in the process of getting a divorce, but didn't say that to her, so she was never in the know that he was married. But I think she found out, and she stuck by him. And so I think that's what really turned the family off. I guess so at the onset, at the fact that he was not fully divorced and he was talking to Shay. So I guess I kind of turned them off. Probably they wanted the relationship between him and his ex-wife to work, and then she came into the picture. So probably that's why they're closed off from her, but we'll find out. And he has 2 children with his ex-wife, a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old. What? And so the therapist asks, what's the rush? Since as he would have just came out of a marriage, what's the rush to get into another? And he said, once she's always been there to support him through the bad times and the good times. So he's saying that, once you know. Well, don't you guys think that's what he said in the first one? But we're not gonna judge him. And Shay says he has helped her to grow into an amazing person. And so now they're talking about family, and William said the first time he met Shay's parents, they fell in love with him, and he fell in love with them as much as he loved Shay, because they were super nice to him, super genuine, and so he and her family has a very good connection. Versus with Shay and William's family, the relationship isn't so good. So he set up a date for his parents to meet Shay, and she said, when they met, the place was so silent, nobody really welcomed her, and so she felt awkward being around them at that time. And so the therapist asked him if he was already divorced, and he said, I might have been, I may not have been, I don't know. But I can see why the parents would have not wanted to meet her. Is yet you're not fully divorced, you're freshly divorced, and you're jumping into another one. Come on. And so now they're moving into who's coming from the other side of the family. She says for her, her mother, her sister, and her best friend. And William says for him is his mother, father, and a brother. And so now in the car we're seeing Shay's mom, best friend, and sister. And Shay's best friend says she just really hopes that this meeting brings peace for the family, and that their biggest concern is Will's family not accepting Shay. And in the car with William's friends, we see his dad saying, you know, he's looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. He's a bit apprehensive about the whole situation. And William says he wants to get his family to a point to understand that he's happy, so they should be happy for him. And he says that his dad is going to stride with his mom. So if his mom says A, his dad's going to say A too. And so during the task of the 3 days, the therapist or a relationship expert is going to give them tasks to do that's going to help them to bring the different questions or concerns that each family has. And so they're able to answer those probably questions or concerns and probably get answers that the family may have in order to get to a resolution. So we say that the first task is William is going to cook with Shay's family, and they're going to play a game of Would You Rather with them. And she says that this will help them to get to know him better. And with the Williams family, Shay is going to be playing a game called Tower of Truth, where they're going to write a question on each block, and she's going to pull the block out and answer the questions. And so this will help them to get to know her better, her to get to know, well, I don't get how they get to know, how she gets to know them better, because they're the one asking all the questions and she's just answering. But yeah, it's for them to get a connection. So first to arrive is the Williams side of the family. That's his mom, brother, and father. They arrive and they both go towards the door. What I do not appreciate is the fact that even though Shay does not have a good relationship with them, once they came to the door, she went upstairs and then was calling to William to come to say that she was upstairs, and then she went to the backyard and she was calling out to him to say that she was at the backyard. And she never once greeted his parents like a hi, thanks for coming, I don't know, a handshake, I don't know, a hug, something. Even, I don't know, it seemed kind of rude to me. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels weird about that. Like, even if we don't have a good relationship, I'm going to try to make an effort. I'm not going to be completely standoffish unless they were completely rude, which I don't know if they were completely rude. She just said that they didn't really communicate with her, and so she felt a way about that. So I felt like that was kind of rude of her to not greet them at least, if not the hug, greet them at least. She just stood at the door and then she just walked away once they came, which I did not appreciate. And then once the doorbell rang again, she now knew that this time it was going to be her family, and she was all excited about her family, and she was like, come. She's telling him to come so they could get the door together. I'm like, but he's not finished showing his family around. And so when her family comes now, she's all screaming and happy and stuff like that. And William comes and William and them are hugging. Like, that's a warm greeting, which I guess he said that he already had a good relationship with them, and they were hugging and stuff like that. And they're showing her family around the house. And not once did I hear, William introduce them to his family, and they were right there in the kitchen. They just walked past them. I was like, oh, that's rude. Which, I mean, I did not appreciate that. I mean, they may not have been on best terms because of what they've heard that they would have done to Shay, but doesn't mean, we're coming here for a fresh start. You could have at least said, it's my mom, brother, even if it's not like shaking hands, but they were walking past, so they could have said, "Mom, Dad, brother, hi," And then when we get to the formal introduction, and that would have been better. They just walked right past. Right, so right now everybody's talking about what their concerns are. And so Will's brother says his concern is the relationship that Shay has with the family. And that William should really take the time out to allow his family to know Shay some more. And his mom says, Shay's been married for 42 years, and she knows a bit about relationship because she's been married for that long to her husband. And so she's saying William come as a package deal because he has kids, and she wants to know if she is willing and accepting of those 2 kids and of who he is, and seeing that she doesn't have any children of her own, she's really willing and accepting of his kids. And so his dad said, he knows nothing of Shay and her family, so he would really like to get to know Shay and her family a bit more. So that's his concern. And so we're now on to Shay's side. We're starting off with her best friend, Indira. And her concern is Will standing up for Shay when it comes to his family and getting her to create a relationship with his family. And her sister's concern is, again, the relationship with his family, and she said more so a relationship with his mom and how his mom would treat her meaning treat Shay. And her mom says she doesn't think Shay is well received by Will's parents, and that's her concern. And so now they're gonna split up and go into the groups and do the activity that the relationship expert Tracy asked them to do. And then we see where a conversation between Shay, her sister and her mom, and they're saying, why is William's mom saying that? Not because she has 42 years, not because she has been married for 42 years, means she knows nothing about marriage. And I think that's wrong, because she has been married for 42 years, means she has some experience. She may not be a marriage expert. And her mom said, "Oh, I didn't know you had a master's or a PhD in marriage." And I'm like, no, but she has some expertise in marriage, and she knows what marriage is like to an extent. Now, everybody's marriage is not the same, but at the same time, she has some experience with so many years, 42 years. She must have learned something in marriage and must have known some wrong and some rights of being married and how to please each other to be married that long, in my opinion. Just saying. So I think that they were being a bit petty in that sense in saying that, but it's whatever. And so we saw the conversation that William is having with Shay's family. That went well, because as they already agreed, they have a great relationship. There's nothing really between them. So they have a good time in the kitchen cooking and toasting to love and everything. And so the first question that William's parents and his brother asked is, from the blog that she put, it says, how does she plan to build a relationship with his children? And she said that she has a pretty good relationship. Yeah, I did forget to mention earlier that when they were talking to Tracy, she said, that she has a good relationship with both of the children. They like her and she like them. So she's now saying to the parents, I guess they don't know that, they have a good relationship. They like her and she likes them. She said even though when they started out it was a bit rocky, because children may not be receptive to a new person in their life, so that's understandable. But she said they have worked through that issue, and that she plans on continuing to working on it so they can have a much better relationship. And then here William's mother, have you ever heard little Will says he doesn't like you? Like, why would you say that? Like, why would you rat your grandson out like that? That's not cool at all. Even if he said that, all she could have said is, have you heard? Or she shouldn't even be mentioning that. I don't know. Should she? Probably bring that to William. Do you think she's trying to make her feel bad? But she could have at least said, have you ever heard any of the kids say they don't like you? I don't know. She said, have you ever heard little Will say he doesn't like you? And Shay says no, and then Shay said, have you? And she said yes. He says that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And kids may say that because they may not be receptive, as I said, to the person probably coming in and taking their mom's place with their dad. They may feel a bit, uncomfortable towards that person. And as she said, started off that way. Don't think it's that way anymore, but yeah. The other question they ask is Will not being able to give you children, if it's a turn off? Just said no, if they're not able to have children, they'll just adopt. Oh yeah, and that's one of the things that she family asked. They asked William if he's willing to have more children, and he said yes, 1 or 2. And so her brother is asking her if she doesn't want kids of her own, and she says yes, definitely. And then they ask her what's her deal breakers, and she says faithfulness and not being able to have a relationship with his friend. So I should say this. I think it's gonna come out further down, but let me just say it now. Apparently, William has a vasectomy after he had his 2 kids. So he had a vasectomy, and so I guess that's what their concern is. But what William did not tell his parents is that he had some swimmers left that he had just in case he had changed his mind. So his parents doesn't know that, but Shay knows that. That's why she's so hopeful to say, yeah, we're gonna have kids. And that's why someone's like, but how are you gonna have kids? So I'm guessing that's what they're really asking, like, yeah, that part. But that was wrong of him not to tell his parents that, because then she wants kids and his parents are like, how are you gonna get kids? And then I think that's where the disconnect is. He is not being very honest in this process, as we will continue to see as we go along. And so the mother-in-law was saying, the same respect that you would want me to have for you, I would have for you if you're my daughter-in-law. And she was saying that's the respect that she had for her daughter-in-law or ex-daughter-in-law, that she had that commitment to her. And she felt when William had asked to say that his parents would come to meet she said no, she was not ready to meet her. Because remember, he said in the beginning he didn't think he was fully divorced at that time. So I guess the parents were not very receptive. They still thought that William and his ex-wife could probably repair the marriage if it wasn't for Shay. Probably he didn't even tell them that he was getting a divorce. They just thought that she was a homewrecker. Which, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Even though he had the mindset of getting the divorce, he did not legally get the divorce. And so the parents kind of look at that as probably it was when she came in that she broke it up, but he already had in mind to get the divorce. See, he's putting her in a sticky situation because he was married and did not tell her, but even though she found out, she decided not to leave. And I guess he explained, like every other does, that we're not divorced, but that's where I want to be. I guess probably that's what he was saying. That's where I want to be. I want to be divorced. And so I guess he started the process of being divorced. And so probably the family, well, not probably, I guess the family is blaming Shay for the full-on divorce, because the mom is saying if it wasn't for Shay, then probably he and his ex-wife could have worked the problem out. And I do see where that is coming from. But at the same time, William is to blame because he's putting her in a pothole where he should have just divorced his ex-wife first and then started to date Shay and then introduced her. But that's not what he did. While he was married and thinking of getting a divorce, he introduced his parents to Shay, which then gave her a bad rap to his parents for them to look at her as a homewrecker, because they were saying they did not want to meet her because they were still so attached to the ex-wife, which, I mean, that's understandable. They were still attached to the ex-wife. And so I guess that's why the meeting was awkward, because when his parents told him not to bring her, they thought he was not going to bring her, but he brought her anyways. And so I guess that made there be tension because they weren't expecting her to be there. But she did not know that they did not want her to be there. She didn't know that part. She thought they were going to be welcoming and they were expecting her. But the whole time they were not expecting her. And so when she was there, when they met, I guess it was just crickets, crickets, crickets. So that was completely wrong of him because he's putting her in deep mistake as the bad person when it's really him. It's really him. See, I know that's the thing here. The mother-in-law says that the daughter-in-law didn't think the marriage was over, even though William thought it was, or said to Shay it was over. The mother-in-law said that her ex-daughter-in-law did not think that the marriage was over. So the mother-in-law is saying, Shay kind of worked that home for them. So she's asking her if when she found out that he was married, why didn't she leave? And she was saying, she knew that he did not want to be in the marriage, so she was more there to support your mother than to leave him. And so, yeah. Would you guys be willing to do that though? Like if you were with somebody who at first did not tell you that they were married, when you found out that they were married, would you up and leave until they were married? Would you fully leave? Would you support them? What would you guys do? Do you guys think that was selfish of her? The next question is, they asked her, what did she own before she met Will? She said she had a house, she had a car, she had her own money, she was working. Do you guys think that was rude of them? Like, I guess because she is much younger, they thought that he was financing her. No, this girl is independent, okay? Don't do her like that. So now around the dinner table, they were talking about, how everything went. And William said, her family, they were good. And that her family was saying that, he answered all the questions down to the T, everything they expected him to say. He said, so basically he passed with her family. And so Shayna brought up the fact that the meeting of them again, she was saying to everybody this time at the dinner table that William's mom said that when she came to meet them, the mom and his family did not know that she was going to be there, but William made it seem to her who is Shay, that his family knew. And so her best friend is saying, if the family said that they were not ready to meet her, why would you put Shay in that situation like that? And he said, this is what he said, he just thought that once they met her and got to know her, they would start looking at her and not his past. And I feel like he should have respected his parents' wishes at the time that, listen, we're not ready to meet her, so she don't need to bring her, which he should have respected and not force on them. Give them a bit more time, to get, before you bring her around. I guess they were still, processing the whole divorce thing, if he was divorced, because he doesn't want to make it clear when he was divorced and when he wasn't, because, yeah, so he should have given his parents time. I think they were pretty attached to, I guess that's not very good to jump from one to the next. You need to give yourself time and a process. And this is where I felt like he did Shay wrong as well, because he should have not started to date her while he was still not legally divorced, and he should have not let her catch feelings. He should have told her that he was still married. And I hope at that time when he would have said it before she caught feelings, she would have left before. And I don't know, hold off or something. Don't start a relationship while you're seemingly in another, even if you're not living together. It can seem wrong to other family members looking in. Don't do that. So he was wrong. He's all the way wrong. To me, he's the person to be blamed for all of this, because if he didn't start the relationship with Shay before he was legally divorced, if he would have respected his family's wishes and not brought Shay when his parents asked him not to, then there would not have been that. So Shay wouldn't have been thinking, oh, they're expecting her, and they wouldn't have been thinking that she who would have just show up out of the blue and just waited a bit, then this would have been a better beginning, in my opinion. And so now they're talking about the whole children thing. The mother is bringing up the fact that her grandson stated, that he did not like Shay, and so they're saying that, at that time when he probably would have said that, it would have been the time where Shay was probably enforcing some rules around the house, and he probably did not like that she was enforcing rules. So I guess that's why he said he did not like her. And so William was saying, his son is a bit manipulative, and he knows how to get his way, and so he was probably saying that to his grandmother. And so, she was saying she doesn't like to hear her grandson says that. But, that's true. Kids are manipulative, and when somebody new starts enforcing rule, they're like, who do you think you are to me? And stuff like that. So kids can do that, so I do understand. Do you guys think that they are trying to butcher Shay into, I don't know, I feel like the questions they're asking were not bad questions, but it just seems like they already had a preconceived notion of her, which was already bad rather than good. That's what I think. What do you guys think? And so here at the dinner table, again, at this point, his family did not know that he had the swimmers, but they do know that he had a vasectomy. So his brother was saying one of the concerns for him was the fact that she wants kids, and he's afraid that that's not going to happen. And so William is saying, he's not thinking about that part. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm like, why did you not use this opportunity to say that to them instead of like bringing them in circles? Like, why not just say it? And so the brother is saying, wanting kids and not being able to have them, that can change people. And he's seen people change, and so he's putting that perception on her. And so her family is saying, who are you to say that she will be a totally different person in that situation? And that is true. Persons can change, but at the same time, that's like him putting negative energy on her to say, if she does not have her own kids, then she's going to be different towards other kids. She's a preconceived notion of him. He shouldn't say that. He doesn't know how she feels to her kids. Probably she can be just as loving as she would be towards adoption as she is towards her stepkid, and stuff like that. And so his brother continued to say, he was with an ex-wife that they support him and they don't want that for him. And again, okay. They are concerned for him, but then they're putting that notion on her, not knowing that she has been very, very supportive of this man. She's been there for him, supporting him. And so now they're talking to the relationship experts and explaining how the night went. And, she was crying, and she said she felt bad because she felt like William's family was basically bludgeoning her with all the questions and comparing her to his ex-wife and his situation. And this is where he finally reveals and said, his family is talking about the whole vasectomy thing, and his family doesn't even know that he had swimmers, and that that he has some extra swimmers, and the fact that he has gone down the road of reversal to reverse or try to reverse his vasectomy, which who knows if it will be successful, but they're being positive. And I'm like, and so Tracy asked, have you told your family that? And he said, no. I'm like, you're the one causing the problem. You are the problem. Why would you not tell them that? Even last night when you're at the table, you had the opportunity to tell them that, but up until now, you have not told them that. Why would you not do that? And you're making them look at Shay as the bad person. So many things he has done wrong and is still doing wrong. This guy does not know how to communicate with anyone, apparently. Because he's not telling Shay he was married. He's not telling Shay that his parents is not ready. His parents says he's not ready. He's still bringing her. Oh my God. He's not telling his parents that he's telling them he did a vasectomy, but he's not telling them he had extra swimmers. He's not telling them that he's doing the reversal. He's not talking at all. He just says what he wants to say and leave everything else to the dust. This guy, he needs some work before they should get married. in my opinion. And so the expert was telling him, that with him communicating with his family, that's how he's going to open the door for Shay to have a relationship with his family. So she's saying, communicate with them and let them know the entire situation, what has been going on, and how Shay has been there for you over the past 2 years, so they can get to know her a bit better, and so they can open up that